The ballroom on Velara Prime was magnificent, all crystal chandeliers and polished marble, filled with dignitaries from across the coalition celebrating the signing of the new trade agreements. As a junior human diplomat attached to Ambassador Chen's staff, I was here primarily to observe, take notes, and try not to embarrass humanity. I was managing 2 out of 3 when she approached me. Lady Zerilyn was impossible to miss. Tall even for a Velaran, with the distinctive deep blue skin and silver hair of her species' nobility, she moved through the crowd with the kind of confidence that came from knowing everyone would step aside. Her eyes, brilliant gold, swept across the room and landed on me. I immediately looked away, focusing intently on my drink. "You're staring," my colleague David whispered, "and now you're very obviously not staring, subtle. That's Lady Zerilyn, Duke Thuron's daughter. Way out of my league and also kind of terrifying. She's coming this way." "What? No, she's—" I looked up and she was indeed coming directly toward me. "Oh no, human," she said, her voice like music, her translator rendering her words in perfect English. "You're with the Terran Diplomatic Corps." "Yes, my lady, I'm Alex Morgan, assistant to Ambassador Chen, and you've been watching me all evening." My face burned. "I apologize if I was rude, I didn't mean to stare." "I didn't say you were rude, merely observant." She studied me with those unsettling golden eyes. "Walk with me, I wish to discuss something." It wasn't a request. David gave me a look that clearly said don't die as Lady Zerilyn led me away from the crowd through elegant corridors to a private balcony overlooking Velara's capital city. "Do you know much about Velaran customs, Alex Morgan?" she asked, leaning against the balcony railing. "Some. I studied the cultural briefings before coming here." "Then you know that among my people interest is shown through direct approach. We don't play games of subtle hints or gradual courtship." She turned to face me fully. "I find you attractive. I'm interested in pursuing you. These are facts I'm stating clearly so there's no misunderstanding." I stared at her, my brain short-circuiting. "I what? You're intelligent enough to understand standard. I'm expressing romantic and physical interest in you." "How do you respond?" "I'm flattered, shocked, confused why someone like you would be interested in someone like me." I managed to pull my thoughts together. "My lady, I'm a junior diplomat with no political connections. Your nobility, this doesn't make sense. You're also the human who spent the last 3 hours listening to Ambassador Trelvin's mind-numbingly boring speech about tariff regulations without showing any sign of impatience or disrespect. You're the one who noticed when Lady Myra was struggling with her balance after too much wine and quietly arranged for someone to assist her without drawing attention. You're observant, considerate, and disciplined." She smiled. "These are attractive qualities. That's just basic professionalism and politeness, which is rarer than you think, especially in diplomatic circles." She stepped closer. "I'm permitted one public display of interest tonight. Velaran custom says if I kiss you here on this balcony during the celebration, it announces my intention to court you formally. So I'm asking clearly, may I kiss you?" My heart was racing. This was insane. A Velaran noblewoman wanted to court me. There had to be some angle I was missing, some political maneuvering I didn't understand. "Why?" I asked. "Really, why me?" "Because you're the first person I've met in years who looked at me and seemed to see a person before they saw a title or political opportunity." Her expression was earnest. "I know this is sudden, I know it seems strange, but Velaran culture values directness and I'm being as direct as possible. I like you, I want to know you better, and I'm asking permission to begin that process." It was tempting. She was beautiful, clearly intelligent, and seemed genuine. But something in my diplomat's training nagged at me. This was too fast, too intense, and I didn't understand the full implications. "I'm honored," I said carefully, "truly, but I need to understand what accepting would mean. Velaran courtship customs, the political implications, what obligations I'd be taking on. I can't agree without knowing what I'm agreeing to." Zerilyn's expression shifted, surprise, then something that might have been respect. "You're refusing." I'm asking for time to understand the situation before making a decision. If that counts as refusal, then yes. For a long moment, she just looked at me. Then she laughed, genuine and delighted. You're the first person who's ever said no to me. Do you have any idea how refreshing that is? I imagine most people find it difficult to refuse nobility. They find it impossible. They say yes to everything I ask, agree with everything I say, and treat me like I'm made of glass and gold. She tilted her head, studying me. But you just refused me, politely, reasonably, but firmly. I didn't mean offense, none taken, quite the opposite. She stepped back, giving me space. You want to understand the customs and implications, that's wise. Very well, Alex Morgan, I'll send you detailed documentation about Velaran courtship traditions. Study it, ask questions, and when you feel sufficiently informed, give me your answer. That's acceptable, more than acceptable. It's proof that my interest was well placed. She turned to leave, then paused. One more thing, among my people, refusing a noble's advance is either seen as insult or as challenge. You've made this more interesting than I expected. She left me on the balcony, confused and slightly terrified. The documentation arrived the next morning, a comprehensive guide to Velaran courtship customs that was simultaneously fascinating and alarming. I was reading through it for the third time when Ambassador Chen called me into her office. Alex, I need you to explain why Lady Zerilyn's household has sent formal courtship documentation to my junior assistant. It's complicated. Ambassador Chen raised an eyebrow. Try uncomplicated explanation. I explained the balcony conversation, the request for a kiss, my refusal, and Zerilyn's response. You said no to a duke's daughter, Chen said slowly. And she sent you homework instead of having you arrested for insult. That's an accurate summary, yes. Alex, do you understand what you've done? Possibly started an interstellar incident, possibly won the interest of one of Velara's most eligible nobles through sheer audacity. Chen pulled up files on her datapad. Lady Zerilyn is third in line for her family's duchy. She's brilliant, politically connected, and has rejected every formal courtship proposal she's received in the last decade. The fact that she approached you first is unusual. The fact that she accepted your refusal with grace is unprecedented. Should I be worried? That depends. Did you refuse because you're not interested or because you wanted to be informed first? I thought about Zerilyn, her directness, her laugh when I'd said no, the way she'd looked at me like I was a puzzle worth solving. The latter, I admitted. Then study that documentation carefully. Velaran courtship customs are complex, and if you accept, you'll be entering a very public relationship with significant political implications. I spent the next week studying. Velaran courtship was indeed complex, multi-phased, with clear obligations and expectations at each stage. But what struck me most was how much emphasis was placed on genuine compatibility and mutual respect. Unlike some human traditions that focused on romance or physical attraction, Velaran customs seemed designed to ensure partners were actually compatible for long-term bonding. It was logical, practical, and slightly terrifying in its seriousness. I sent Zerilyn a message. I've completed my review of the documentation. I have questions. May we meet to discuss? Her response was immediate. Tomorrow, 14:00 local time, the Jade Gardens. Come prepared to be thorough. The Jade Gardens were beautiful, a public park filled with crystalline plants native to Velara that chimed softly in the breeze. Zerilyn waited near a fountain, dressed more casually than at the ball but still elegant. You actually read all of it, she said as I approached. All 47 pages, yes, plus supplementary materials on political implications and legal frameworks. Most suitors would have skimmed at best. Most suitors probably understand Velaran culture better than I do. I needed to be thorough. I pulled out my datapad with my notes. I have questions. Ask. We spent 2 hours discussing courtship protocols, political expectations, and cultural differences. Zerilyn answered every question honestly, never once making me feel stupid for not understanding something that would be obvious to Velerans. Here's what concerns me, I said finally. The documentation says that if courtship proceeds past phase 3, there's a bonding ceremony that creates legal obligations, essentially marriage, though the terminology is different. That's correct. And it also says that in traditional noble families, the higher-ranking partner maintains formal authority in the bond, which would be you. Also correct. So if we proceed through all phases and reach bonding, I'd be legally subordinate to you in Velaran law. Zerilyn's expression became serious. Yes. Though subordinate is a harsh translation, the concept is more nuanced. The higher-ranking partner holds formal authority, but bonds are meant to be partnerships. The authority exists for legal and political clarity, not for dominance. But it could be used that way. It could. Some noble houses do use bonding as a method of control. She met my eyes directly. I won't lie to you, Alex. If you bond with me, you'll be entering my world, my political sphere, my social obligations, my family's expectations. And yes, technically I'd have legal authority in our bond, but I'm not looking for someone to control. I'm looking for a partner who can stand beside me and tell me when I'm being an idiot. Like refusing to kiss you at a ball, exactly like that, she smiled. You said no when everyone else says yes. That's what I need, someone who sees me as Zara, not just Lady Zerilyn the Duke's daughter. I looked at this woman who'd approached me with complete honesty, who'd accepted my refusal gracefully, who'd spent 2 hours patiently answering questions that must have seemed basic to her. Okay, I said, okay, I accept. I'd like to proceed with Phase 1 courtship with full understanding of the implications and obligations. Zerilyn's smile was brilliant. Then we begin. Formally, properly, with full traditional protocols. She pulled out a small crystal pendant. This is a Phase 1 token. By accepting it, you're agreeing to exclusive courtship for a minimum of 30 days. You'll attend certain social functions with me, we'll spend time together in public and private settings, and at the end of 30 days, we'll both decide if we want to proceed to Phase 2. I took the pendant, feeling the weight of it, both physical and symbolic. And if either of us decides not to proceed, then the courtship ends, no obligations, no hard feelings. That's the point of phases, multiple chances to determine compatibility before making permanent commitments. Okay, I can work with that. Good, because Phase 1 starts immediately and I have a family dinner tomorrow night that you're now expected to attend. Tomorrow, Zara, I need time to prepare, to review protocols for meeting your family, which is why I'm giving you 24 hours. She took my hand. Welcome to Velaran courtship, Alex Morgan. Try to keep up. Phase 1 was intense. Zerilyn introduced me to her family. Duke Thuron was intimidating but fair. Her mother was sharp and evaluative. Her siblings ranged from welcoming to skeptical. I attended social functions where I was very obviously the human commoner courting nobility and dealt with whispered speculation about my motives and suitability. But Zerilyn was there through all of it, making clear that I was under her protection and that anyone who disrespected me would answer to her. And in private moments, walks through the gardens, quiet dinners, late-night conversations, I got to know Zara beyond her title. She was funny, passionate about environmental policy, terrible at strategy games, and had a secret love for human classical music. She got to know me too, my background from Earth's working-class neighborhoods, my drive to succeed in diplomacy, my fear that I'd never be good enough for her world. You're already good enough, she said one evening as we sat by the fountain where we'd had our first real conversation. You don't need to prove anything, Alex, you just need to be yourself. Myself might not be sufficient for Phase 2. Phase 2 is in 3 days. Have you decided? I had. Somewhere between meeting her formidable family and watching her argue environmental policy with genuine passion and stealing glances at her when she thought I wasn't looking, I decided. Yes, I want to continue to Phase 2. Zerilyn's smile was soft and genuine. Good, because I do too. Phase 2 involved deeper integration. I moved into her family's estate in a guest wing, attended her political meetings, learned to navigate her social circles. The scrutiny intensified, but so did our connection. We fit together in ways I hadn't expected. Where I was cautious and analytical, she was bold and intuitive. Where she was impulsive, I was stabilizing. We balanced each other. 3 months into Phase 2, Zerilyn asked, "Are you ready for Phase 3? Phase 3, the final stage before bonding, where we'd live together as a committed couple, make joint decisions, and prepare for the legal and social implications of permanent union. Where I'd have to decide if I could accept being bonded to someone who, by law, would have authority over me. I need to know something first," I said. "Ask. If we bond, if we go through with this, that legal authority you'd have over me, how would you use it?" Zerilyn was quiet for a long moment. "Honestly, I hope I'd never need to use it at all. The authority exists for worst-case scenarios, if one partner is incapacitated, if legal decisions need to be made quickly, if there are disputes that require formal resolution. But in practice, in a healthy bond, it's ceremonial. Partners make decisions together. But you could use it." "Yes," she took my hands. "Alex, I can't promise I'll never make mistakes. I can't promise we'll never disagree or that I'll never frustrate you. But I can promise that if we bond, I'll spend every day trying to be worthy of your trust. I'll listen to you, value your input, and treat you as an equal partner even when the law says otherwise." I looked at this woman I'd come to love, brilliant, passionate, occasionally infuriating, always honest. "Phase 3, I said. "Yes, let's do Phase 3. Phase 3 was 6 months of learning to actually live together. We fought about stupid things, how to organize shared spaces, whose schedule took priority, whether her family's expectations should override our preferences. We also discovered deeper compatibility, shared values, complementary goals, genuine affection that went beyond initial attraction. At the end of 6 months, Zerilyn asked the final question, "Will you bond with me?" And I said yes. The bonding ceremony was elaborate, traditional Velaran rituals mixed with some human elements at my request. Ambassador Chen attended, along with my family who traveled from Earth. Zerilyn's entire extended family filled the ceremonial hall. When the officiant placed the bonding marks on our wrists, permanent biosynthetic tattoos that would identify us as bonded partners for life, I felt the weight of what I was accepting. Legal subordination to my partner. Entry into nobility. A life of political obligations and public scrutiny. But I also felt Zerilyn's hand in mine, warm and steady, and saw the genuine love in her eyes. The officiant spoke the traditional words. "Lady Zerilyn, as the higher-ranking partner, you now hold formal authority in this bond. Do you accept this responsibility?" "I accept," Zerilyn said clearly. "Alex Morgan, as the subordinate partner, you now accept this bond with full understanding of its implications. Do you accept?" I met Zerilyn's eyes, thought about the journey from that first night when I'd said no to a kiss, through months of courtship and compatibility testing, to this moment. "I accept." The ceremony concluded with traditional blessings, and we were officially bonded under Velaran law. Later, in private, Zerilyn pulled me close. "You said no to me once," she murmured. "On a balcony when I asked for a kiss. Do you regret it?" "Not even a little. If I'd said yes that night, we'd have rushed into something neither of us really understood. Saying no gave us time to do this right. And now you've said yes to me forever, legally, officially, with full knowledge that I technically own you under Velaran law." I laughed. "When you put it that way, it sounds terrible." "It does, doesn't it?" She kissed me softly. "Thank you for trusting me with that authority. I promise not to abuse it. And I promise to keep telling you when you're being an idiot. Since that's apparently my job as your subordinate partner." "Exactly, someone has to keep me honest." She pulled back slightly, her expression turning serious. "Alex, I know the legal structure is unequal. I know it bothers you sometimes, but in every way that matters, in how we make decisions, how we live our lives, how we treat each other, we're equals, partners. That's what I want, regardless of what the law says. I know, that's why I said yes. I touched the bonding mark on my wrist. I said no to a kiss because I wasn't ready. I said yes to bonding because I knew exactly what I was accepting, including the risks. And you're worth the risk, Czar. She smiled, her golden eyes bright with emotion. You're the only person who's ever made me work for their affection, made me prove I was worth choosing. I'm going to spend the rest of our bonded life making sure that choice was right. Just don't make me attend any more 12-course state dinners. Those are torture. No promises. Your nobility now, state dinners are mandatory. I've made a terrible mistake. Zerilyn laughed and kissed me again, and I thought about the strange journey that had brought us here. I'd said no to a kiss, a moment of caution, of wanting to understand before committing. She'd said yes to owning me forever, at least legally, under Velaran law. But in practice, in the life we were building together, ownership went both ways. She held formal authority, but I held her heart. She commanded by law, but we led together by choice. It wasn't the traditional human relationship I'd imagined for myself. It wasn't even fully equal by legal standards, but it was ours, built on honesty, compatibility, and genuine partnership, and that was worth more than any legal framework could define. I love you, I said simply. I love you too, Zerilyn replied, my partner, my equal, my bonded mate who's legally subordinate but practically runs my entire life. Someone has to organize your schedule. Left to your own devices, you double book yourself constantly. This is true, see, you're already invaluable. We stood together on the balcony of our new shared quarters, not so different from the balcony where this had all begun, looking out over Valera's capital. I'd said no when saying yes would have been easier, and that no had led to the most important yes of my life. Sometimes the best decisions are the ones you take time to make. Even when a beautiful noblewoman is asking for a kiss, especially then.